Hey class, I wanted to drop in and share with you guys one of the artifacts that I have found to be just really awesome, and it gives insight to a lot of things, especially as a new teacher coming into the field and just trying to maneuver your way through. It gives you like a foundation. It gives you the framework as to how to do, what to do, why you would do it, and that's just something that I truly enjoyed when I read the book, and I still enjoy it. I find that a lot of these things are really just on point and hits the nail right on the head. One thing, or the book is Cultivating Genius by Gottlieb Muhammad, or Dr. Muhammad. It's an equity framework for culturally and historically responsive literacy. And it really just goes through so many precious gems that you can use. One thing, or I wanted to point out a few things in the book that stood out to me, and some of those things were how she just spoke about the barriers that the students will have, and that the barriers the students face, especially students from different cultural backgrounds. Our black and brown students, and in many cases, when it comes to education, our black and brown students are placed up against or compared to our white students, almost as almost to say that our white students are the standard in which our black and brown students should be, or should become accustomed to, or what they should mold to. And unfortunately, that's just not how life is, and that's just not how education should be. The world is ever changing, and more brown students, especially Hispanics, are becoming the norm. They're becoming more populated. And because of this, I believe that education should definitely, like, we have so many researches about overpopulation in special education, but we also have many researches about the trends of the Hispanic population increasing and other populations decreasing, or other groups of people decreasing. And because of this, we have to know the culture. We have to know how they celebrate different holidays, the holidays that they celebrate, the different languages that are spoken amongst, because as African American, our vernacular isn't just English, right? We also have a slang vocabulary. So just learning all of these things, like, it may not always be called a cup and saucer, right? I know growing up as a black kid, we had cups. We didn't have saucers, right? So that shouldn't be the standard in which I am tested, or I have some type of formative or summative assessment over, because that's just not my norm. And because it wasn't my norm, or it's not my norm, I shouldn't be excluded or feel as though I'm not included, because that's just not my culture, or that's just something I didn't grow up knowing or doing. And so this book just tells us how to implement different frameworks, and just how to be more cognizant of the students we're teaching, and to not only teach the academic part of it, but to also teach the social and the emotional stability and framework for that. It also speaks heavily about identity and self development. Um, one of the five standards or aspects that Dr. Muhammad spoke about in this book was identity, self development, intellectualism, criticality, and joy. All of these things are needed to develop the whole student, and not just the part of the student that we want to develop. And that is something that I truly enjoyed about the book, because growing up, different things weren't always as they seemed on the surface. Like, I can come to school with a smile on my face, However, I may not have gotten any sleep that night, or I may have slept in a house that didn't have proper air conditioning or heating, or the windows were broken out, or didn't have lights and water and different things. And believe it or not, many of our students, I know many of my students face these things. The socioeconomic status of some of or a lot of my students are low, and so I can just automatically assume that they have the necessities at home, such as internet and water and lights and things like that. Just because they come to school with different clothings and articles, I can't always assume that they have these things just readily available at home. So I have to make sure, or I have to dive deeper and learn about the student's background and make sure that I am aware of the background, and try to be aware of how the students are living. And not everyone lives with their mom or dad, so this is just telling us to be aware and to make sure that we try and dig into the backgrounds of the students so that we can know all there is to know about the students. And in most cases, this can help you understand why they are who they are and how they act and different things like that. So this is the book, and this is what I enjoyed about this book. It's just a teaching and a learning model of how to include and be culturally responsible and responsive to our black and brown students, to all students, but especially our black and brown students, and not excluding them, but including them. Thank you.